Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Game Changer. I'm Maryam Zia. Tonight we will be focusing on Pakistan's evolving ties with Belarus, as Pakistan is going to be hosting, of course, and is hosting President of Belarus, Mr. Alexander Lukashenko, for a significant visit. Both countries have, of course, significant ties and established their relations in 1994. Pakistan was one of the first countries which recognized Belarus, and with this significant visit, both countries are looking towards expanding their bilateral ties in economic, of course, spheres, as well as military, technology, and others as well. And in this visit, we are also, of course, expecting several MOUs and significant, of course, other roadmaps. Specifically, Pakistan-Belarus trade roadmap is going to be signed in this visit. What this visit holds for, of course, both the countries, we will be looking at in today's program, and also how Pakistan is expanding its foreign policy and in these evolving times, and how Belarus is looking towards other markets. We will be exploring in today's program, and when we look at from the perspective of geostrategic, of course, importance of both the countries post, of course, 2022, what it holds for both the countries. We will be discussing all these and other aspects of bilateral relations between both the countries in today's program. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studios by Mr. Shahryar, who is analyst. Welcome to the program. We're joined online by a former ambassador, Mr. Nasir Ali. Welcome to the program. We're also joined by Mr. Baluch, who is former ambassador. Welcome to the program. Shahryar, let me start with you. Of course, when we discuss about Pakistan's relations with Belarus, Pakistan recognized Belarus was one of the first countries, of course, which recognized Belarus. How do you think this has shaped relations between both the countries?
So, Maryam, first of all, Belarus got its independence in 1994, and they opened up their mission in Islamabad in 2014. Since then, Pakistan and Belarus have basically cooperated in a lot of fields, mainly focusing on agriculture, machinery related to agriculture, and now those relationships are expanding into defense, technology transfer, IT, and all of these separate sectors are being discussed right now. Before delving into the MOUs and the trade agreements that we'll be discussing later on, the geopolitical situation, as you mentioned in your introduction, is also very important. Historically, Belarus has been very close to Russia and has been under a lot of economic sanctions by various Western countries. So according to Pakistan's national security policy and the way Russia and Belarus are now looking towards expanding into new markets, looking more towards Central Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia as well, and also expanding their relationships with the GCC countries. So in that aspect, Belarus, along with Russia, they're moving more towards expanding their economic ties with Central Asia, and they're also looking at Pakistan very closely now in developing their relationships, economic relationships, trade relationships, and also cultural relationships in a wide variety of fields that have been discussed. And we can discuss that more in detail.
Right. Let me take the same question to Mr. Nasir Khan. Ambassador Nasir, how do you view the relations between both the countries have evolved over the past 30 years? And in past 2 years or so, how do you think the geopolitical shifts or alliances have impacted the relations between both the countries?
Encouraging that the president, along with a very large delegation of 68 people, which includes about 43 businessmen, has made a 2-day visit to Pakistan. And we welcome this visit. And I'm very happy that the Prime Minister of Pakistan and President Lukashenko seem to be developing a personal relationship. It was on Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's invitation that the president has decided to come. And judging by the size of his delegation, the fact that not only the foreign minister, but the energy minister, the transport minister, the natural resources minister, and a huge delegation of businessmen is accompanying them shows me the sort of an importance that Belarus is willing to give to this relationship. Now, coming to the possibilities of economic ties or enhancing economic ties, Belarus, first of all, is a country which doesn't have a very large economy, but over the years it has developed a large industrial base, and there are lots of things where they can possibly export to us. As far as Pakistan is concerned, the location of Belarus itself, if we increase economic ties with Belarus, can give us access to markets in proximity of Belarus. Apart from that, talking about the geopolitical situation, obviously Belarus is very closely aligned to Russia. And at the moment, as far as Western countries are concerned, there are certain limitations and certain sanctions that apply to them. Nevertheless, I'm very, very pleased that this is a new inroad and a new relationship, a stronger relationship that stands to be established, and I welcome that.
Right, and taking the same point to Mr. G.R. Baluch. G.R. Baluch, sir, what's your take on this, especially when we look at in the context of course, this is President Lukashenko's third visit to Pakistan. How do you see it in the context of deepening ties between both the countries, and also in the context of like we are witnessing the global alliances are shifting now. How do you think this is going to be looking for both the countries?
Thank you, Maryam. Basically, we have to look at the bilateral aspect of the relationship, the regional and the international. So I think we'll try to look at from these three lenses. In terms of bilateral relations, I think Belarus has a has developed a pretty good broad base of industry, as well as it already is endowed with agricultural base, because mostly its land is flat and they have developed a pretty modern agriculture. So and Pakistan is now under the new vision of Green Pakistan is giving priority to have agriculture as the prime kind of mover of our economy. So I think there'll be a lot of collaboration which can potentially come from Belarus in terms of corporate farming, in terms of mechanization of agriculture, in terms of optimum use of water, new technologies, new seeds. So I think I look at it from that point of view, that agriculture could be another very potentially important sector where a mutually beneficial relationship can be built. Also, Belarus has a pretty good industrial base, and Pakistan and I think Belarus can cooperate in terms of transfer of technology, training of manpower. This is the bilateral level. Now going to the regional level, I think I always refer to this, that there has been a effort by one of our rivals on our eastern border to isolate Pakistan. Although that has fallen flat on its face, this policy of our rival, yet I think we have to continue to assert that Pakistan is one of the most engaged country at the global level, diplomatically, economically, politically, and strategically. So I think that is the regional context. Another regional context can also be, I think, linked to our relationship, and that is Pakistan being an important sector, like a segment of the Chinese initiative of BRI, that is Belt and Road Initiative, in shape of CPAC. So, and there is a potential for And I think there have been talks between with China and Belarus to also link Belarus to BRI as a leg to Eastern Europe. So the two countries have this very interesting common feature of being part of the BRI.
Of course,
The
and
third
in this
important thing
visit,
is that
right. We will be coming towards the international aspect later in the program, but I want to touch more upon the economic aspect and elaborate on it. So, Shahryar, when we talk about, of course, this aspect that is economic, the trade volume between both the countries has fluctuated over the years, we have seen. In your opinion, what are the challenges that both countries have witnessed in past years, and now since the delegation is here, and earlier of course this year we also saw the sideline talks of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif with Prime Minister of Belarus as well. How do you think this is going to be improving especially these MOUs that are going to be signed in this visit, the trade volume between both the countries?
So, Maryam, if you look at 2023, the trade volume between Pakistan and Belarus did increase by over 30%, and Belarus's exports to Pakistan also increased by around 1.5%. Obviously, there's like a lot more potential that hasn't been realized as yet, and this is like one of the way forwards that a very large, significantly large contingent from the Belarus side has come to Pakistan to basically formalize a lot of MOUs in various different sectors. So historically, if you look at Belarus, it has an economic basis which is very strong agriculturally. And even historically, when it comes to trade relations between Pakistan and Belarus, there has been a lot of like cooperation in agriculture, fertilizers, also machinery related to agriculture as well, especially tractors and other agricultural related mechanics. There was also talks about establishing various industries focusing on agricultural development, and under the vision of the SIFC, as we already know, there's like a large focus of Pakistan on developing and further enhancing Pakistan's agricultural base and production as well. So that is like one key area in which Belarus can support Pakistan and develop a MOU of like mutual cooperation in which this particular sector can be enhanced. Other than that, this time around, also key ministers from Belarus have reached Pakistan. They came yesterday, and one of them is also heading the committee that basically looks at defense production in Belarus. So that is like one area where Pakistan and Belarus would also be enhancing. Traditionally, it was trade related to agriculture. It was also like focusing a bit on natural resources as well. But now that cooperation is expanding more towards IT and also defense production as well.
Right. We are now joined online by Dr. Vaqar Ahmed, who is a senior economist. Welcome to the program. Dr. Vaqar, when we, of course, talk about Pakistan-Belarus relations, and especially in the context of this ongoing visit of President of Belarus, how do you think of Pakistan-Belarus roadmap, that is 2025 to 2027? What are the key priorities that are outlined in this roadmap, and how it is going to be shaping the future collaborations between both the countries?
Thank you very much for having me. I think you have put the question very correctly. There is a lot of room for improving bilateral trade and investment cooperation between both countries. Currently, trade volumes are low, a couple of $1 million, but certainly this shouldn't reflect on the potential that both countries have. My fellow panelist has just pointed out various areas in agriculture sector where both countries need to collaborate more closely. Having said this, the current delegation and the visit is of extreme importance because it follows up on the past engagement which both countries had established since 2015. And the Joint Commission on Bilateral Trade and Economic Cooperation, it had, of course, decided upon various areas ideas and measures that needed to be taken for both countries to succeed and achieve the vision that you were talking about in your question. So the current visit, in fact, is a manifestation wherein you see that several business community members are here who will be meeting their counterparts in Islamabad as well. Now, within the overall set of sectors in which they are meeting, yes, agriculture is one, but also various industrial inputs that are used intensively by Pakistan's small and medium enterprises. And Pakistan often faces the foreign currency or foreign reserve constraint to procure such raw material and machinery. Closer financial cooperation with Belarus could actually result in procuring such inputs for our industrial sector, for SMEs, small and medium enterprises.
Right. Dr. Vaqar, that takes me and that leads me to my next question. That is about Belarus has already expressed its interest in investments and joint ventures and technology transfer as well. How do you see what kind of potential exists between both the countries in this regard, and what needs to be done? Particularly, like you referred to industrial and infrastructural sectors as well.
So 4 sectors stand out. Of course, agriculture is one, machinery, automobile, and textile. These, among others, would really stand out because this is where Pakistan's own domestic private sector is fairly mature and can, of course, integrate with the Belarus value chains. We do, however, and before coming, members of the delegation had pointed out in their working papers that there is a lack of awareness about this potential on both sides, which actually means that the chambers of commerce and business associations on both sides need to be meeting more frequently. Second, of course, there was a working paper which has also pointed out about various non-tariff trade barriers that need to be removed when it comes to strengthening trade ties between both countries. While there have been some measures on enhancing trade facilitation, a lot more needs to be done to understand what sort of non-tariff barriers are there on both sides. But it shouldn't stop at trade only. We need to be inviting foreign direct investment from Belarus as well. And for that, of course, we need to do some regulatory easing on our end.
Right, but when we talk about attracting foreign direct investments, how do you see the role of external elements or external challenges like the Western sanctions that the Belarus has been facing, and of course Pakistan's own economic challenges that we have been facing for quite some time? How do you think they have impacted the economic ties between both the countries, and what needs to be done moving forward?
Yes. So this is where deeper financial cooperation comes in. The financial sectors of both countries would need to be more innovative here. And while, of course, there are countries such as Iran and many others who have sanctions, still continue to trade due to financial cooperation. At one point, of course, Pakistan had engaged with various other countries in signing currency swaps, something that, of course, helped to overcome partially overcome various forms of sanctions. But there are other methods as well that both central banks need to be talking about more deeply.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Vaqar Ahmed, for joining us in today's program and for your valuable input. Now, Mr. Zia Baluch, when we talk about, of course, these sanctions and, of course, both countries looking to expand their markets, how do you see the economic aspects aligning with, of course, the diplomatic paradigms of both the countries in these shifting geopolitical alliances?
Yeah, see, madam, this is a very big aspect of bilateral linkages between these these two countries, Belarus and Pakistan, in general. But in particular, we have to also look at it that there is a very unjust financial and economic global order that has been challenged by various emerging centers of economic power. at various fora, which is BRICS and G20, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So I think probably there is also a scope for Pakistan and Belarus to also collaborate diplomatically at the international fora for a just and equitable global financial and economic order, where there are no arbitrary sanctions on the countries which actually hinder the free flow of services and goods among various countries, and especially the developing countries. So I think this is another. I think at the diplomatic level, probably the two countries can find a lot of common ground to work on this very aspect. So I think I believe that there's a huge potential, again, as been said. So this is probably this is not the first, but I think in the present context where the global scenario is also changing, different multi alliances are emerging, and Pakistan is following that policy of engaging different blocs and not be aligned with one bloc. So I think it's a very interesting times that we all are living, and especially it's very conducive for both the countries to be looking at beyond the prism of restrictions and other constraining regimes that have been imposed on the world by the global status quo, if you will. So I think both the countries have that potential, that they, in collaboration with other like-minded countries, can look for and raise voice for a more just economic and financial order.
Right, and Mr. Baluch, since you alluded to, of course, multilateral engagements between both the countries, and both countries we know are part of SCO as well, how do you think that both countries can leverage being part of these multilateral platforms to deepen their ties to other sectors? Like Pakistan is in need of energy as well. So how do you see both countries can, of course, leverage those platforms?
Definitely, I think SCO is a very potent platform where two countries can really use those mechanisms, and there are financial organizations under the SCO, the bank, as well as now the Asian Development Bank, as we call it, not the Asian Development, but the other Asian Development Bank, which is sponsored by China. So I think we can find new instruments of international trade, new gateways through which our letters of credits are honored. So I think this and SCO is a very potentially very potent and a very potentially powerful organization which can really help bring people together, bring those countries together. And I think being both the countries being member of SCO, we can use those instruments, we can collaborate on those regions, and whatever we do bilaterally can be actually supplemented with our collaboration at the regional level in the SCO by garnering other support by other members to join us. So it's actually, there could be several alliances within the SCO. There could be some kind of a smaller grouping of people who work on specialized economic collaboration models.
Right. And Shahryar, when we talk about collaboration in different sectors and expanding those collaborations, given Pakistan's ongoing energy crisis, how do you see, is there any potential for Pakistan to have any joint ventures, especially when we talk about energy sector?
So, Maryam, when it comes to the energy sector, what we have to realize is that Pakistan does produce a lot of electricity. The problem basically comes in when the capacity issues and capacity payments have. So there's a disbalance when it comes to management of electricity issues. Right now, with Pakistan's various energy projects, especially under the CPEC framework as well, Pakistan is producing a lot of electricity. When it comes to energy, if you're like looking at gas and petroleum and like the other sectors, yes, then there's like a lot of like potential which can be discussed when it comes to like refineries and like weaning off Pakistan from heavy imports when it comes to petroleum products as well. There is like some area, LPG, natural gas, that can be discussed with Belarus. Again, that those discussions have also historically been taking place with Russia as well. One key area that I basically see that there's like a lot of like potential and focus, the two main sectors which are also highlighted under the SIFC framework as well. One would be agriculture, the other would be natural resources. Minerals in Balochistan, like former FATA areas, other rest of Pakistan as well.
And Belarus is famous for, of course, exporting tractors and agricultural products.
Yeah.
So how do you think that is going to be working, and what kind of potential or technology transfer is needed or we are looking towards?
So Maryam, that like framework has already existed between Pakistan and Belarus, and that is like one area that can further be enhanced. We have to like keep in mind that since 2015, Pakistan has signed the Islamabad Declaration of Pakistan-Belarus friendship. Other than that, there is a Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation that was also signed in 2015. And since then, most of the cooperation between Belarus and Pakistan has been in the agricultural sector, as you also mentioned. Technology, machinery related to agriculture, fertilizers, or developing fertilizing facilities, that technology transfer is like something that it will be discussed even now with this delegation as well. Three main areas that we should be focusing on, and the ministers for those relevant ministries are in this like very large delegation. That is like agriculture, that is like natural resources, and the other main area is emergency solutions as well, and military industry committee. The representative from there is also joining in this delegation. Other than that, in this delegation there are like also 43 prominent businessmen from Belarus that have like joined in as well. So they would also want to explore Pakistan's market and find out areas where those private businesses could also
where
like
potential
expand.
exists, of course,
So
for
that
investments
potential.
as well. But Mr. Jia Baluch, when we look at potential is huge on both sides. And when we look at, of course, 2017, of course, both countries agreed to have a trade volume of over $1 billion, but that had remain unmet. In your opinion, how what is needed to be done to overcome those challenges, since the geopolitical environment is different now?
Yeah, basically, you see what, there is a one common, I would say, natural advantage the two countries share. That is, Belarus is located at the is like a gateway to Eastern Europe and Eurasian landmass, while Pakistan is located at is a gateway to Central Asia, South Asia, and Western Asia. So I think you talked of leverage. So what can happen is that we can use each other's this inherently naturally God-given advantage to each other's advantage. That is, they could use us as a transit to these markets, the Belarusian businessmen, and Pakistan can leverage Belarus location, geostrategic location of being gateway to Eurasian and East European countries. So this can happen in a bilaterally. The two, especially the private sector, can actually collaborate in a way. And I really wanted to hint at it, and it was good that one of our participants mentioned that. I think this is where we should bring in our private sector forward.
Right.
Let the Chamber of Commerce, Professional Chamber, they should collaborate, cooperate, and not only concentrate on our local market, but they should collaborate, cooperate in adjoining markets. They should have some kind of joint ventures. So I think we could use each other's location as a staging point to further expand our exports to other adjoining areas in the two regions that we are located. Yep.
Right, of course, private sectors and public-private sector partnership remain an important aspect when we look towards expanding economic ties between both the countries. But at the same time, Mr. G.R. Baluch, when we look at turbulent international environment, how do you think moving forward both countries can overcome these challenges, especially when we talk it about from the lens of economic relations between both the countries, which have overall remained resilient over the past 30 years?
Yeah, definitely. These challenges will remain, have always been there. Diplomacy is all about that how do you overcome these crises and within the given situation, because we cannot work in a world like desired by us, but we have to operate in a world which actually exists. We know the environment at this point of time, the crisis that the world faces, the challenges that Belarus faces, the challenges that Pakistan faces in terms of external pressure, internal pressures, terrorism, instability around the globe. So within that, I think some kind of a common approach to insulate our system. And this is where, again, the private sector comes in, where the government cannot really reach or may not be, because of the constraints, cannot operate. The private sector is kind of comparatively more free to operate within those constraints. So I think even as a strategy, we should bring in our two private sectors in all these 4 or 5 sectors that we identified together for collaboration, and not only between the two countries, but within the region and ideally in the globe. Why not? I mean, I want to see a global company owned by some big business names in Pakistan and some businessmen from Belarus. Why not?
Of course, that remains an important. And what are your expectations from this ongoing visit moving forward, both the countries? How do you think this is going to be impacting not only diplomatic relations, but of course cultural ties, military ties also remain an important aspect of bilateral relations between both the countries. So what are your expectations? Last words. Mr. G.R. Baluch.
Okay. So I think definitely when you have this high-powered delegation coming in, which includes almost everyone important from the Belarusian side, our friends from Belarus. So I'm sure our counterparts, ministries and departments, they would have worked on certain, because what happens in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, since I worked there, that prior to such a high-level visit, always there are certain plans that they are made, that which are those agreements that we will sign, which are those areas where we can collaborate, in what way we will collaborate. So I think, and not only that these are like just MOUs, but then there are also plan of action that how to implement those intentions of the leaders. So definitely this will be a very, very good, I think it will provide impetus to already a good relationship that exists between the two countries. We just need to translate it into actions, translate it into tangible projects.
Of course, implementation and translating it into action remains an important aspect. Shahryar, your last few words on this significant visit of President Lukashenko, and also when we talk about bilateral ties, it not only covers the economic aspect, military aspect, cultural aspect, and other aspect also come into this sphere as well. So how do you see this is going to be enhancing and solidifying relations?
So Maryam, I see a lot of potential between Pakistan and Belarus on expanding their trade and economic relations. Other than that, I also see Pakistan and Belarus expanding their relationships into academic and research fields as well. There's a lot of potential. Pakistan needs to also continuously work on ease of doing business, and under the whole SIFC framework, in which bureaucratic red tape and ease of doing business is being enhanced in Pakistan, this would have a great potential and a very positive impact into enhancing bilateral relationships with various countries.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Shahryar Khan, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. G.R. Baluch, for joining us in today's program. Of course, when we look at this significant visit, Pakistan and Belarus have had 30 years of strong relations, but several MOUs have already been signed between both the countries, and we are looking forward to signing of more MOUs between both the countries. We will be keeping you updated with these MOUs as well, and how this is going to be solidifying strategic and economic relations between both the countries. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.